Okay, and hello again for my second video about the villa, Hadrian Villa at Tivoli, close to Rome. So, Tivoli is about 30 kilometers east of Rome, and the complex of the villa was really massive. It extended on about 300 hectares, so it was a little city. And it had space. This is plastic, a sort of reconstruction of the villa. There are some dots with numbers. They are not very visible, but it is not important. I'll show you the most important pictures and the most important places of the site. But anyhow, there was space for soldiers, not only for the emperor's family, but also for soldiers, his guests, shops of any kind, troops, servants, and so on. So it was a sort of little city. And the buildings were mainly made of bricks, because bricks were much cheaper than marble or stone. And at that time, the emperor, the court, couldn't afford to spend that much for architecture, even though Hadrian had a lot of different buildings built all over his empire. There were also some statues and decorations with marble and mosaics, but most of them were vandalized after the emperor's death. And after Hadrian's death, the villa was abandoned because it was too expensive to maintain, and so it was abandoned and vandalized during the centuries. I can show you some pictures of the main places. For example, number one, I can't enlarge the screen because I also had to fiddle with the pictures contemporarily. So this is the entrance for tourists, number one, and tourists have to walk all across this sort of alley. But here there is the so-called Greek theatre. It was very small. It is not a Greek theatre, only the shape is Greek, because it was not a public theatre, not for all people. It was only for the emperor's guests. So it was quite small. Now it is all covered with grass, and there are only a few ruins. I'd like to show you this building, this very massive building, number 2, which is called with a Greek-Italian word, pecile. It is a word, it is not Italian, of course, nor is it Greek, because the Greek word was poikilos, and it meant a building very colored, painted with lively colors. Now, it was a porch. It was a sort of courtyard surrounded by a porch and some walls. Now, only one wall is still standing, and it is this one. Maybe it is best. Yes, it is better visible here. It was very long. It is very long. It is about 200 meters long. Why? The reason why we have a building like this at Villa Adriana is totally unknown. Maybe because Hadrian was a philosopher and he liked to walk all around the place and talk about philosophy with his friends. Well, we don't know. But it is really very, very long. Only this wall is left of the whole building. Then I could show you number 11 here, close to it. It is the heart, it is the core of the villa, this place, number 11, 12, and 13. And number 11 is the so-called Philosopher's Hall. This is the entrance, and this is the Philosopher's Hall. Here there were maybe some statues of different philosophers, because Hadrian was fond of philosophy, and very important people had to wait here before being received by the emperor here in the so-called Maritime Theatre, which is a circular building. It is considered a real masterpiece of architecture because it was a sort of artificial island surrounded by a ditch, a moat maybe, and there are still standing some columns, Ionic columns made with stone. It is not marble, but it was a sort of villa in the villa, because here in the circular part, in the internal part, Hadrian had a sort of little apartment with all he needs for him and his family, and here he received his most important guests. Then there is number, I think it is number 12. Yes, this is number 12. They are the so-called Greek and Latin libraries. This is the external part with some columns, and this is the internal part. It was a very big building with 2 or maybe 3 floors originally, and there was a heating system and maybe also a sewage system connected, and it was connected to the emperor's palace. If you want to see the emperor's palace, it is here. It is number 13. It was, of course, this was the core of the place. This is the outside, and this is a mosaic, a floor pavement with mosaics. As you can see, it is not colored. It is black and white. It's very simple, but it is massive. And there were also some decorations made with marble, colored marble this time. And there are also some decorations left in the ceilings, but as I told you, the place was vandalized, and there are very few things. We can see apart from the structure of the buildings. Then there is another important part, which is here. It is number 7. Where is it? Here. The so-called 3 exedras. What is an exedra? An exedra is a semicircular space. It was close to a fountain, and one of the 3 exedras had a garden, a place to relax. Another one had a place for banquets and parties for the emperor and his family. And close to the 3 exedras, there was a temple. This is the basement, only the basement with the 2 columns are left. And we don't know which god or goddess the temple was dedicated to. And the last important site I'd like to show you is here. It is quite peripheric because it needed a lot of space, and is the so-called Serapeum. Because Serapis was an Egyptian goddess, and Hadrian wanted to have this place built just to imitate Egyptian style, Egyptian architecture. It is a very massive pond. It is about 100 meters long and 20 meters wide. And 20 meters wide, yes. And so it is impressive. It was all surrounded by columns and arches and statues, but the statues we can see here are copies, because the original ones, at least the ones we still have, are preserved in a museum which is very close to the place, and and visitors can visit it when they go to the villa. So this this whole place reminds of a temple, of an Egyptian temple to Serapis, and it was built to show Hadrian's guests the emperor's power, the emperor's force. It was very solemn, and there was a space for banquets, for very solemn and important banquets. The statues are in a museum, as you can see. Maybe here there is a crocodile. Yes, the most interesting is maybe this crocodile. The statues are made with stone or marble. These two gods represent rivers. One of them maybe is the river Nile. There are warriors also. And there is this crocodile, which is very interesting because crocodile was an exotic animal for the Romans, and it existed only in Egypt. And in the museum there are a lot of artifacts of pieces of architecture, bas-reliefs. This is me reading maybe a guide, but anyhow, it was December, so my dressing is suitable for winter. And this is a medallion. I wanted to take a picture of it because it is really interesting. Maybe I can show it better to you. It is made of marble. It is very well done, or maybe very well made, but anyhow, it is very heavy. It had to be suspended somewhere. I read it in the guide, but this sort of pamphlet I have in my hands, but I don't know how. But the ability of the sculptor was really very, very high level. So anyhow, I think I can finish. I can stop here. Apologies again for what happened about my computer's audio, and have a nice day. Bye bye.